To you live, of course, from Parliament buildings, where we continue with our wall-to-wall coverage of this year's budget. That is the fiscal year of 24-25. As you rightly put it, Wari Munjega, we are talking about this budget that is the highest in our history, and of course will be presented here to the corridors of the Augusta House by none other than Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njugu Ndogo, and of course the Professor will be coming in this afternoon. But we are trying to reach out to these members of Parliament as well as governance experts as well as economists to just expound on how we reached here and how we're able to finance this highest budget we have ever received in our country under the Kenya Kwanza administration. Joining me for this particular talk is none other than Kesses Member of Parliament, that is CPA Julius Ruto. Mheshimiwa, thank you for making time for us. You are the members of Parliament who canvass this particular issue of the 4 trillion budget. Now, how did you come about it? And of course, not just you, but the government as well. How did you come about the 4 trillion budget?
Thank you so much. You need to appreciate the fact that the budget making process is a long process. Commenced in the month of August, 30th August. That's when the budget circular is released by the CS for Treasury to state departments, MDAs, and then sector working groups are formed. In the month of February, budget policy statement is read out that gives indicative ceiling of each and every sector, each and every area of expenditure, focus or an agenda that is being trying to address. Now we are at the tail end that today the Cabinet Secretary is coming in to present his statement. It's just about a statement, but budget estimates were already tabled in the House. They have been discussed, they have been adopted. Now after this one, it will inform now the appropriation bill that will come forth next week. As you've rightly asked, how did we come about 400 billion? Budget is a function of Parliament. You will appreciate that for the last a couple of weeks ago, we were engaging sector by sector. Some of the areas that were very critical is sector of education. You remember that there was at the initial stage, because of the constraints in this budget on the expenditure side, the issues of financing the interest of the debt interest, where the country now is experiencing huge burden in paying off the domestic debt interest and the other concessional debt interest. All this put together, it was training the budget to be even beyond 4 trillion. It was going to almost 4.3, 4.5. But then this one was unrealistic. What this means that sectors were forced to cut down their budgets. Starting from the office of the president, which cut down more than 200 billion, 200 or around 500 billion, office of the deputy president, and the other offices, they were forced to bring down. So it came down to around 3.9. But later, upon engagement of sector and listening to an NG, like a program to do with school feeding program, it had to be reinstated. You remember there was a bipartisan engagement between Senate and National Assembly on disagreement on the division of revenue. It also caused some other additional funds to be increased for devolution from 391 to 401 billion. So all those put together, it informed the why now the budget stands at around 400. So as to how it is there, as I've said, but still, I can still dare say that that budget is not sufficient. If you listen to every state department, every expenditure point, they still ask for a lot, for them to run, for operation, to support their programs. We have critical areas that this budget has tried to focus. One of the areas is on priority areas that the government is focusing, issues to do with health. We remember that now the new health administrative structure of SHIV, that is Social Health Insurance Fund, that is being put in operation from the month of July. It requires a lot of capital to restructure it, to support it, to make it run. That is another area. Areas I've said, confirmation of JSS teachers, which was critical. You remember a couple of days ago, there were demos around here, and JSS teachers are saying, look at this, we have been trained, taken through a rigorous training process with a lot of cost, but the money we are handing as interns are so peanut to the level that it is not consummate, and we are devoting our time to attend to the critical issues of the society, the issues of education and knowledge. So those are part of the issues that we are able to look at, and the Committee on Appropriation, Budget and Appropriation, led by Ndindi Nyoro, had to take in from sectors, every department, led by every chairman of every committee, were able to address it, and that is why we have a budget estimate of 4 trillion.
Yes, but Mheshimiwa, we have seen critical areas like the agriculture, health, as well as that is education. Budgets have been cut. Is it going to affect the service delivery at the end?
If you look at now, what is the core focus of agriculture? Core focus of agriculture last year and this year is focusing on production. Because that is clear. The president spelled out, and this administration has focused on that one. Production. Because few years, you remember Kenya had been reduced to a net importer of food. You see, when a nation has gone down to be net importer of food, that is a nation that it's a nation that has lost its sovereignty. Because a nation that cannot feed its people has lost sovereignty. You are now in the masses of the lender. But what this administration has tried to focus, even through budget intervention, is to focus on subsidized fertilizer, focusing on like we have 10 billion that is focusing on subsidized fertilizer, 12 billion that is focusing on stimulating other crops, commercial crops, like the one that is focusing on production of edible oil, sorghum, palm oil, issues to do with textile, cotton industry. We have around 12 billion. So in agriculture, it is shifted to focus on critical areas. Yes, there are some areas that might suffer for now, but because the resources are scarce. So when a cut is done, it is only going to affect on non-priority, quote unquote, non-co-priority, so that the available resources is taken to the core areas that is going to stimulate our economy. As I've said, production. The next phase of this budget now should focus on manufacturing. After production now, because some of the products like palm oil will take around 3 years to mature. After maturing, we now need to prepare the production area, the manufacturing. We need to stimulate manufacturing. In the long run, we attain creation of employment on our country and retention of the money that we are channeling out. Look at this budget we are preparing. Most of our money are flying out of the country because of importation. Food, importing. Edible oil, importing. Which country are we building? We are building an external economy, external employment, external farmer against our internal farmer. So this budget, though it is strenuous, though it denies some resources, some focus or some quotas, but it is shifting the focus to an area that is going to create our autonomy in terms of building our economy and creating our employment.
Rightly so, Mheshimiwa, when you talk about manufacturing, in the Finance Bill of 2024, we have seen manufacturers coming before the Molo MP, that is Kimani Kuria-led committee, talking about these issues and how those VAT as well as taxes that will be imposed by the Finance Bill of 2024, how it will affect the manufacturer. Even some of the manufacturers are even threatening to leave the country and go to other countries so that they can export to Kenya, or rather we can import in the country duty-free. So is this the way to go?
First of all, what this finance bill is also trying to address is the last statement you say, duty-free, what you call tax expenditure. As we talk now, Kenya, we are suffering more than 400 billion annually on tax expenditure, duty-free, because we are a deficient country. We don't have sufficient of our own internal supply. We are depending on external supply. So what this finance bill also is trying to correct that. And in any case, if you look at critically, I know any tax measures, always it has to affect an end, it has to support somewhere, it has to affect. There will be someone somewhere will be lamenting, there will be somewhere will be celebrating. So we are trying to create a balance. Even as a committee now, we are retreating to writing a report. We have listened to them. But at the same time, also we need to listen to our hand that, are we going to be dependent nation for a long time? Because we also have to be responsible citizens. So I know there will be some sacrifice that have to be made in the context of this one. So some of the reduction or removal or deletion of some sections that affect some sector of manufacturing so that it can go to standardize VAT is not with an ill motive, but rather is trying to create a balance. Otherwise, we have shifted our country to highly dependent on external. And of course, will that country survive? So as leaders, we'll have to strike the balance on that.
Okay, thank you, Mheshimiwa. I know you're very busy today. Thank you for your time. And of course, that is Kesses Member of Parliament, that is CPA Julius Ruto, just informing us, or give us the intrigue on how we reach the 4 trillion budget, given that I told you it is a historical moment for the country. Not just in the country, we do understand our neighbors also will be presenting their budgets before their various parliament, that is Tanzania and Rwanda. And of course, we'll duly inform you in our subsequent bulletins.